All right, another micro brand Monday. Now, it goes without saying, every time a Nove shows up, the comment section's gonna get a little spicy. Because it seems like Nove is one of the most polarizing watchmakers ever. Their designs are always in your face, often oversized. Their stuff is usually really out there and honestly innovative. I mean, listen, Nove has made dual time zone watches that flip on itself, not quite like a reverso, but still reverses. They've made watches that I've reviewed that utilize case back crowns, really, like I've never seen it before. And then there's this, the Nove Atlantean Automatic. Its enormous 50.5 millimeter stainless steel case is not something I'd personally wear, but there are a few things that I think are very intriguing, so I'd love to talk about this watch today. But first, if you love wristwatches and you don't take anything too seriously, please consider subscribing because we are the watch world's sociopaths. And it's impossible for us not to make a mockery of the watch world. That is according to my comment section. And then what I want you to do is give the like button a box of Oreos, but fill up that box with Hydrox instead. That's also gonna get some people upset. Oh, Hydrox are way better. I grew up with Hydrox. Okay, when are you from? World War I? Oreos, guys, let's go. Oreos, baby. It is 5:26 p.m. Let's get down to business. All right, so with this absolute behemoth right here, look at this watch. Like, what is going on with this amount of material? No, don't focus on me. My head's enormous, but look at this thing. Look at this. Insane. 50.5 millimeters by 55.6 millimeters. That's right, the lug to lug, 55.6 millimeters. And it's 13.95 millimeters thick, so it's just under 14 millimeters. Already said 316L stainless steel case and bracelet. You're getting a Ronda R150 automatic movement, hacking, hand wind, and a very smooth 28,800 BPH sweep. You're getting a threaded crown with a 300 meter water resistance rating, a sapphire crystal, and Super Luminova CL3 Lume. All of this for $690. Now we're gonna talk about the price and the specs and all of that, but the truth is, I do think this is a lot of watch. Literally, with a case size of 50.5 by 55.6, it's literally a whole lot of watch. But honestly, the specs are pretty dang good, and there are some pros along with some cons, so let's go ahead and get into that. First pro, and the first thing that I think is truly innovative, the bezel lock, okay? We've seen some watches that have, bezel locking systems, things like the Glycine, they've used bezel locks. But this kind of oversized lever and how it unlocks the bezel and then how the bezel interacts with the internal rotating dial, very sneaky and really cool. It just makes the watch that much more dynamic. It's kind of a hidden thing. I didn't know what that lever was for initially, and then when I went to move the bezel, what I thought would move didn't move, and then what did move, I didn't think would move. So yeah, it kind of blows your mind the first time you do it. Really cool conversation piece, I'm sure. I like the micro adjustments on the clasp, just makes for that much more of a comfortable wear. Another thing that makes this watch very comfortable is the curved case back. So although this is one hefty boy, having it on your wrist is actually pretty nice because, well, I don't think it's gonna focus on me there, but you can see the case back kind of concaved, curved a little bit, whatever you want to say. It's very comfortable how it lays on your wrist. And the last true pros would be the display case back, very clean, very nice to look at, and the crown is very silky smooth. But again, with the good comes the bad, so let's get into the cons. Okay, so first con, we're going back to the bezel, okay? So when we unlock it, we can see this floating dial, super duper captivating, incredibly interesting. However, it's totally not functional. Here's why. There's a reason that external rotating bezels and timing bezels, dive watches, whatever you want to call them, there's a reason why there's a pip. There's a reason why the pip is typically a different shape than all the other bezel indicators. And the reason is because you can actuate the bezel and use that as a reference point to see how much time has elapsed. So now that this external bezel is stationary and it's only the internal markers that move, it makes for a very difficult time quickly getting a read on how much time has passed, because again, your eye wants to focus on that one pip, but that pip doesn't move. So I can't give it my T3 seal of approval for pizza roll timing, but I will say it's fun. I hate using this word. It's kind of a gimmick. Next up on the list of cons, the case is just way too much of a behemoth for my wrist, okay? Listen, I'm a big dude. I have a 7.5-inch wrist. This is still way too much watch for me. There might be some of you out there who see this and think that is awesome. That is the watch that I would wear. That's perfectly fine. For me, the dimensions just a bit too big. And last but not least, when it comes to cons, the lume, although it's Super Luminova CL3, I believe, it's kind of disappointing, kind of lackluster, doesn't shine as vibrantly or as long as I would like to see. Yeah, not the best lume. Also not the worst though, but I think because the indexes and the bezel markers are so bold, you'd want it to be brighter than it is, and it's a bit of a disappointment there. So what's my conclusion about this Nove Atlantean? Well, I mean, right off the bat, the watch feels of solid construction. There's some decent finishing here. The specs are great aside from the dimensions. However, even though it's far too big, in my opinion, it's actually very, very comfortable. I think the biggest takeaway here with this Nove Atlantean, with most Nove designs, is that you really gotta be in love with this kind of design language to spend that almost $700 price tag. However, if any of my other Nove episodes are proof, these designs are definitely speaking to some of you out there. Nove wouldn't be producing these, out there watches time after time if they weren't selling them. So I know in the comment section of all my other Nove episodes, there are people who kind of agree with me that it's just a bit too out there, not something we'd typically reach for. But there's another group of people in my comment section that every time I talk about Nove, they say, where can I order this? Where's the link? I'm in love with this watch. This is badass. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And that's great. You know, that's what makes the world go round. Different strokes for different folks. So guys, thank you to Nove for sponsoring this episode and sending me a watch to review. I really appreciate that they appreciate my honesty, and they send me these watches knowing that they might not be my cup of tea. I really appreciate Nove. Nove, great company. And there you have it, guys. Go ahead, subscribe if you like watches, but you don't take anything too seriously. And again, find that like button and give it a box of Oreos, but make sure it's filled with Hydrox instead. All right, stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. And always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.